Right, this is a special opioid crisis committee. This is Thursday, April 27th at 6 p.m. I have Councilor McKinnon.
Here.
I have Councilor DeFlorio.
Here.
We have 2 members present.
Please stand, salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Realize to make a motion to invite the guests up from the school.
He's gonna read the first order of
Yeah.
business first.
This is a resolution up by Councilor McKinnon that is honor the mayor consider setting up a mutual aid agreement with surrounding communities for the purpose of having additional recovery coaches.
Before we continue on, I have 2 regrets. One is from Fred Capone, Councilman Capone. He's unable to attend due to previous commitment. And the other would be from Councilman Michael McLaughlin. He will be unable to attend due to having eye surgery. Wish him well at home.
If we could please invite the guests up.
Motion made and seconded to have the school department up before us, the superintendents and assistant superintendents before us. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. You have done so. Please state your names and titles for the record, please.
Schools.
Charles Obremski, Assistant Superintendent.
Philip Bronda-Giroux, Student Services.
Thank you for appearing tonight, gentlemen. I believe you have an overview that you wanted to show us, or you want to do the presentation first, or would you like to?
Well, I just want to open it up, and then we'll turn it over to the people that are here. Obviously, the school department very concerned, and we spend a great deal of time and effort trying to educate our young people regarding substance abuse. And that's what they'll talk to you tonight about, the different programs and activities that we do in the schools, trying to educate our young people about substance abuse. And of course, also in the schools, we feel it as much as anybody, because when it does happen to a young person, we know the person, we know the families. They've been with us for a number of years, so we feel some of the pain that these families do feel. And what I'd like to do now is have Mr. Giroux talk to you. We just brought him on to the Parent Information Center a couple of months ago, and he's a highly educated man. He has his bachelor's degree from Framingham State. He has 2 master's degrees, and one of them from Harvard in public administration. He's the former executive director of the Tri-City Community Action Program and the executive director of the Sojourn House. And he's also been a coordinator for the Department of Human Services. And I'd just like to have him talk to you a little bit about what are some of the environmental effects that affect families and young people in this way.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to speak to the issues that are facing the city of Everett, in which I'm quite familiar with through 20 years of working with Tri-City Community Action Program. City of Everett was one of the principal communities that I dealt with. And I was very involved with a number of the community groups as we tried to address the issues that presented themselves to the city. So one of the things that I would like to say first off is how impressed I've been with the city of Everett in its ability to be self-reflective and to not sugarcoat issues and to come forward and try to address them head on. I've also been very impressed with what I had always heard about the Everett Public Schools in terms of their proactive ability to look at issues deeply and to track them. So since 2003, the city public schools have been involved with the Youth Behavior Risk Survey. And that survey, as you're familiar with, really tracks a lot of health indicators, among them substance abuse, violence and safety, mental health, physical health. And those are all really important things and are the traditional kind of measures of health that we look at. But I also has been really involved with Cambridge Health Alliance and the Everett Community Health Partnership. And we also understood very deeply that there are other issues that affect the health of the community. And those are often called the social determinants of health. And those issues are housing stability, food security, access to health care, transportation, employment. Those are all things that kind of envelop the families in our community and make it possible for them to be healthy and to be contributors civically to the community. So what I want to say is that as we address those issues, and I commend the public schools, they brought me on to help to further their work in addressing some of those issues that are faced by the students and their families. Because studies show that when we deal with those issues, the communities are healthier, less prone to violence, to homelessness, and have fewer problems with substance abuse. And I've noticed in my working in the other communities that they were not as proactive as the city of Everett. And I think because it has been, a lot of resources have come into the community because they've had the statistics and have been able to track the effectiveness of their programs. So I'll just end quickly by saying that the issues before us, even though they are substantively tracked by the schools through the youth behavior risk assessment. But the people who do the assessment always remind us, and they said in their summary, the fact that data on youth are collected in schools, however, does not mean that the schools bear the sole or even largest responsibility for the issues revealed in these surveys. These issues are not school problems. They are community problems that require the attention of all community members and organizations. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to add, just so the community and the councilors know, at the present time, we have 12 full-time health educators in the Everett Public Schools and 1 coordinator, 1 in every elementary school and 5 at the high school. We have 13 full-time social workers in the school department, overseen by the Director of Special Education, Dr. Baldessari. We also have 19 guidance counselors and 1 director, overseen by Kathleen McCormick, the Director of Guidance. So we do have quite an extensive staff to work with these families, work with these students, and work with the adolescents in Everett. So I just want everyone to know the number of staff that we do have.
You know, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to request to bring forward a couple of the people that are into the health department.
Sure.
To speak to you about the activities and programs we do have. And I'd like to bring forward Mrs. McCormick, who is our Director of Guidance. She's been a teacher here in Everett since 1988. She's been a guidance counselor, assistant principal of the English school, and now the Director of Guidance. So, we're going to bring her forward. Also, Miss Julie Whitson, who heads up our health department, and she's been with us since 2006. And she's earned a bachelor's degree at Tufts University, her master's degree from Cambridge College. She's certified in the area of health, family health, and she's a former Cambridge Health Alliance employee, and also director of the North Suburban Tobacco-Free Network. So she has a background in this area. And also we have with us Danielle Riley, who's relatively new. She's been with us since 2013. She's a health teacher with us, earned her bachelor's degree at the College of the Holy Cross, her master's degree in public health from UMass Amherst. Obviously, she's certified in health, and she has also been a community outreach coordinator in Boston. So I'd like to bring those 3 ladies forward to talk to you about what they do here in the schools so that you'll have an idea. And following them will be the principal and assistant principals at the high school.
Thank you, Superintendent. You can stay if you like in your seats, or you can come and filter in. It's up to you. I'd like to also bring up 2 members of the council, Councilman Della Sola, Councilwoman Sani, if they could come up. If you could just state your names for the record, please, and titles.
Kathleen McCormick, Director of Guidance for the Everett Public Schools.
Julianne Whitson, health teacher at Everett High School.
Thank you.
Danielle Riley, health education teacher at the Whittier School.
Thank you.
Richard Delasola, Counselor at Large.
Cynthia Sani, Counselor at Large.
Thank you.
Good
Yep,
evening.
Whoever would like to start.
Thank you. As I mentioned, my name is Julianne Whitson, and I'm a health teacher at Everett High School. I have been for the past 11 years. Additionally, I serve as an advisor for Teens in Everett Against Substance Abuse, TESA, and I have since its inception in 2005. On a more personal note, I lost a niece to a heroin overdose several years ago, so I understand the devastating impact that this epidemic has on families and on communities. I've created a PowerPoint which I hope adequately illustrates the wonderful work that the Everett Public Schools is doing to address substance abuse issues. This first, and everybody should have a packet as well so you can follow along. This first graphic highlights the health education programs, how we address substance abuse issues. This is through direct education, community collaboration, decision-making, and also student clubs and activities. We know that student activities are really important, and I'll talk more about that a little bit later. Everett is unique and progressive in that we offer comprehensive skills-based education to all students in grades K through 12. This is rare. Many, if not most, communities do not offer K through 12 health education. By comprehensive, I mean that we're not just talking about nutrition and physical activity. We're talking about a variety of different health issues, including substance abuse, and also physical, emotional, and social health and well-being of our students. By skills-based, I mean that we follow the National Health Education Standards. Evidence has shown that if we teach students skills and give them opportunities to practice skills such as decision-making, goal setting, analyzing influences, and communication, that they're going to have the tools to choose to not use drugs, and also to communicate those decisions to their peers. I know that Councilor McKinnon, you're particularly interested in what we're doing at the lower levels. Ms. Riley would like to speak about our K through 8 health curricula. We do start early, as I mentioned, and you can talk about that now.
Sure. So for our K-8 education for health, we are primarily using the life skills curriculum and the health smart curriculum. As Julianne said, these are both comprehensive skills-based health education curriculums that align with the National Health Education Standards. And the reason that these curriculums were really chosen is because they do focus on developing things like positive relationships, assertive communication, refusal skills, decision-making, assessing risk-taking, which are all skills that we believe that our students need for a variety of reasons, including substance abuse. In the higher grades, we start introducing topics like tobacco and alcohol and other drugs. I just want to point out really quickly 2 specific curriculums that we use with our older students. In grades 5 through 8, we use a curriculum called RX for Understanding, which is centered around the prescription drug use, and also the kind of giving them information to allow them to make informed decisions and to understand how misusing prescription drug medication can affect them in their future. Also in 6th grade, we do a large unit using the Project Northland curriculum, which is centered around alcohol prevention. And this curriculum is peer-led and activity-based, and it also has a very large parent component, which we think is very important. And this curriculum has been proven to reduce and delay the use of alcohol as well as other drugs.
Great. At the high school level, health and wellness is a graduation requirement. So students usually opt to take health in 9th grade. And then they have many electives that they can choose from. In first aid and CPR, students learn how to respond to an overdose situation. In independent living, students learn skills while not necessarily related to substance abuse, but they include interviewing, creating a resume, all of these skills that will help them transition after high school, and we hope will reduce their risk for substance abuse issues in the future. Empowering Youth in the Community is a special partnership with Cambridge Health Alliance. They encourage community service and social awareness and social activism, all which has been proven to decrease a young adult's likelihood of using substances. The Allied Health Academy, many of you have probably heard of that. It's a great program where students train to work in the allied health professions. They see firsthand at Whidden hospitals, overdose situations and mental health and psychiatric situations, so they're able to prepare for those careers as well. Next is some information about our health and substance abuse prevention curricula. I'll give you a quick overview. But as Philip mentioned, we implement the YRBS every other year in grades 6 through 12. We use this data to inform our curriculum. We also use other trends as well. I'm not going to go through these exhaustively, and Danielle already mentioned some, but if you look at the third bullet, Toward No Drug Abuse is implemented in grades 9 through 12. And that addresses students' attitudes and beliefs as well as social norms perception around substance abuse. We find that if students think everyone's doing it, they're more likely to use drugs and alcohol, so we work on that. In the fifth bullet, the RX for Understanding curriculum, it specifically focuses on the misuse of prescription drugs. We know that this is a precursor to opioid addiction. We implemented that in grades 5 through 12 last year, and I teach it and I love it. It's a great curriculum to specifically address that. Finally, at the bottom, the Street Smart curriculum was implemented this year in our Connections program at the high school. And this program supports our most challenged students. And it's great that we can support them in this way, making positive choices. The Everett Public Schools offers many clubs and sports, all free of charge, to our students. This helps to instill a sense of community in our students. It keeps them really active, and they can form really great relationships with trusted adults through these programs. In the health department, we have some specific health-related clubs. I mentioned TISA. I'm always blown away by the growth in the students through TISA and the work that they do. The Allied Health Academy has an after-school club, and it also has a skills summer camp, the Red Cross Club, and Helping Hands at Work is a community service club. A few other events or resources that assist us. This past fall, I took a bunch of TISA students, and the Connections teachers brought about a dozen Connection students to the Opioid Awareness Summit at Songus Arena. It was fantastic. Jim Wahlberg produced a video on opioid abuse, and it really started some wonderful discussions among these students, both the leaders in the school community and the students that might be at risk. So, we're addressing both ends of the spectrum. Narcan, as you are aware, can really save lives in our community. In the schools, we now have Narcan. The principals and administrators have been trained. The health teachers have been trained. Our Allied Health Academy interns have been trained on using Narcan. And in my CPR and first aid class, we discuss it as well. The Good Samaritan Law, I know in our city, we spent, we had a good effort a few years ago, really letting people know that if they're in an overdose situation where someone there with overdoses, that it's okay to call the police even if they have a small amount of drugs with them. And we have had an education campaign throughout the high school to really spread the word about that, to make sure our students know that they're not going to get in trouble, that we want to help save lives, and also what to do in the event of an overdose. What are the signs to look for and to call 911? We've had Chris Herron from the Celtics and recovery speakers. Danielle mentioned the she hasn't yet. We've had the Brain Injury Association come in and talk about the many causes of brain injury, including drug overdoses, and they come into the elementary level as well as the high school level. And finally, I just want to point out some of the social and emotional programs that we have. We know that people often self-medicate when they're dealing with a mental health disorder or other emotional problems. So we have mental health first aid training for students. The Samaritans come in to talk about suicide prevention. We implement a Break Free from Depression curriculum. And one of the goals at Everett High School is to address the social and emotional learning needs of students. And I think as a school community, we really try in the Everett Public Schools to address those needs among our students. We also understand, as Philip mentioned, that this epidemic is a community problem. So we partner very closely with community groups and organizations. Just to name a few, the Everett Community Health Improvement Partnership, ECHIP, their Substance Abuse Coalition has been around a long time. They oversee TISA. They do amazing work, and we've been with them right from the beginning, supporting their work and working with them. The Cambridge Health Alliance Partnerships for Success Grant is addressing, again, the non-medical use of prescription drugs. This will hopefully really help with this opioid issue. We're working on having focus groups at Everett High School with our students in a couple weeks, and helping them to create a community awareness campaign and some educational programs around that. And finally, Healthy Me is a substance abuse and HIV prevention program that addresses this issue in Everett and Malden. They're the ones implementing Street Smart and Connections, and we've been collaborating with them at their meetings as well. And these are just a few of the ways we collaborate with the community. Finally, I included a slide from the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. We recently implemented the survey in February, so that data isn't available to us yet, but our most recent data shows that our substance abuse numbers are consistently lower among all of the substances than the state average. So this shows that, and this has been consistent since we started implementing it, that we're doing a pretty good job, hopefully educating our students. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about the validity of this, but we're confident that these numbers are accurate. And again, if you look at them, we are below the state average in every single one of these categories. I think that this is a positive sign. I think it reflects that all of the hard work that the Everett Public Schools and the educators in the health department are doing to support our students making healthy choices. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great presentation. Anyone else have anything to add, or?
Go ahead.
Good evening. Kathy McCormick, Director of Guidance. Thank you for having us. I just want to tell you very briefly some of the things that we do in the guidance department to help families. One of the things I can assure you is that if a family comes to an administrator, a teacher, or a guidance counselor, the Everett Public Schools work hard to solve the problem. If it's housing, food, a rent payment, health care, we try very hard to solve every problem that comes through our door. When a family is involved in an emergency, if it's an overdose or any type of an emergency, we have a crisis team that we mobilize immediately to help that family, help the students, help the staff to take care of any issue that arises. So that team is available all the time, and they're trained and they're ready to help the Everett community. One of the things that we recently developed was a substance abuse policy. So I've been going to all the elementary schools, speaking to the teachers, making sure they're aware of what is available for themselves, for their families, for the, if they know of a family member that might need help, if a child needs help in school, or if a parent comes to them to talk about a parent issue, we have resources, places that we can refer families to. All of the principals have that information, and all the guidance counselors. We have a substance abuse committee that's been formed. We work with the school nurses when a student has an emergency to make sure that they get the best care. If it's mental health, anything that comes through the nurse's door, they work with the guidance counselors and the principals. One of the things that I wanted to talk about with you is what the guidance counselors do in the elementary schools. So at the high school, you probably are all more familiar with what high school guidance counselors do, college and post-graduation goals, things like that. But K through 12, we also implement research-based curriculum to help students make good decisions. Because one of the things we know is when it comes down to time to make a decision, they have to say, am I going to do this, am I not? So part of the early training that starts in kindergarten is open circle training. It's a research-based training, how to make friends, what a good friend looks like, how to say no. We also use a second step curriculum in grades 6, 7, and 8 to teach those students the skills they need to make good decisions. As the students come to the high school, we also have individualized counseling that goes K to 12. Pre-K even has individualized counseling. We have small group counseling. If there's a few students who have a similar issue, we work with those students in a small group. We also do classroom work at the high school around things that may arise if they need help with college, if they need help with peer interaction, if there's been a problem with one of the students in the class, we react to that. We have a mock bullying program that we use pre-K to 12, so if a student feels like they've been bullied, students know how to help each other, they know how to help the victim, they know how to help the person that's causing the bullying, and we take that very seriously, and that could be part of this crisis that we're facing. One of the things that we looked at recently was the Bureau of Substance Abuse post data, and although the number in Everett for the under 18 may appear small, those are still our students. They're still our kids. And as the students become 18 to 25, there's a little growth there, and those are the kids that we consider, even though they've graduated, they still belong to us. So we want to help those kids. I tell kids all the time that even if you're 30, you can still come back here and we will help you. So anything that a student or
They can leave, but they always come back.
They do come back.
Which is great when they come back.
That's good.
And sometimes they come back with a little problem, sometimes they come back with great news, but we always like to see our students. So I just want to let you in the community know that a student or a family needs something, we are here to help.
That's great information, a great presentation. I know that there's probably, we have questions from the councilors. Councilman Della Sola.
This is great. I didn't realize we had this much
Did you?
for the students families to help them out. I'm just curious, are they taking advantage of this? I'm not looking for, I'm looking for numbers, I guess. How many students do you think come for help? I know it's hard to put a number on it. I'm just curious, do they take advantage of the programs that you have at the schools?
They do. We have, our students come to guidance all the time. They go to their teachers for help. Often we find that they may go to their coach or their, the band director or the director of drama if there's an issue, because they form bonds with their coaches, and then the coach will seek help from myself or one of my staff or one of the principals so that we can resolve issues. Kids just form bonds with people at our school, and that's how we're able to help them.
That is great, thank you. Thank you.
Councilwoman Rosa DeFlorio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Having 5 kids at the Everett school system, I know how great the school is. I say it all the time, and I will continue to say it. And I know you all do a great job. And basically, I really don't have any questions. I just want to thank you. Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate it. But actually, I do have a question. Is there anything that I can see it's well under control? Anything that y'all lacking that we can help you with? Unfortunately, no matter what we do sometimes, it's just never enough, okay? So we try the hardest that we can. I'm not educated as far as a lot of the opiate overdoses, and I'm trying to get myself educated, try to help people, and I've been helping people all my life. But what do you feel that we can do better than we're already doing? We're trying so hard, and
That might be a question for the superintendent.
He's coming right up.
Basically, in the last year, we've been having a lot of conversation with our administrators, particularly the high school administration, in regards to the fact that you have individuals graduating that may go on to a 2-year college, may not finish, drop out at 19, 20, then what do? So part of it is job creation or preparing them for some sort of trade. So we're actually looking seriously at bringing back some of the vocational shops, rail shops. We do have some trades at the high school, but they're not Chapter 74 certified vocational programs where you can go out and get a job when you're a senior, be an apprentice, get into a trade. We actually have a meeting next Thursday with a consultant, someone that's been in the field for over 40 years, and we assume it'll take us till about August or September of 2018 to get at least 5 programs certified to do that, but we are looking in that direction, because a lot of that in that age bracket comes down to having a decent paying job, not just a job that you can survive on, a decent paying job. So those kids that don't complete college, don't go out have a bachelor's degree or beyond, and can't go out and make a decent living. So we want those kids to have some sort of trade, so we're taking a hard look at that, and our assumption is by the beginning of the school year 2018, which I know it's a little way off, but we will have some programs in there. We're working with the WIN organization so that maybe we create hospitality. They're gonna need a number of electricians and plumbers just down that side alone, never mind in other places. So we're looking at bringing a lot. We already have at least 4 programs where our people are already, that presently work for us, are certified Chapter 74. It comes down to funding. So when we start to create these programs, it may be a cost for some of the equipment, maybe a cost of where we're gonna put the programs, if we can't fit them in the present high school. So it comes down to funding. So if we come back and ask for additional funding, we're asking it to help the students or the residents of Everett, not to help ourselves. We're asking to help them, because it comes down to a lot of it comes down to job creation when they're 20, 21, 22, 23 years old.
I find that to be very important because I'm in that situation. One of my sons quit. He's 22 years old, and mom and dad are taking care of him. But unfortunately, I thank God that we are able to do that. There's a lot of parents that can't, and you just don't want these kids in the middle of the street. So I think that's, you know, I've always said that kids can learn to do a lot of things with their hands. Some kids just don't like college. You know, he had the opportunity to go, he went and he quit. So there's a lot of kids out there like that. Now, when you say it comes to funding, obviously everything takes money. But when it comes to our kids, they're our kids. Unfortunately, we have to invest in our children for the future. So is there anything we can do to work together to get these programs going along with the state, to let the state understand of what's going on, and not everybody is college material, and we need electricians,
I
we
think the
need
state is on
plumbers.
hand. The state is actually pushing some of these programs. A lot of it is through the office that Jay Ash actually runs, the former city manager at Chelsea. So the state is on board. It's just the paperwork process to get these, to go through it takes quite a while. In the short term, we're in the process of developing, we have probably about 22 to 25 kids at Medford Vocational School already, developing a short-term relationship for next school year with Medford, so that if our students want to go there, we'll get a reduced tuition rate, and we can send students to the Medford Vocational Program because their enrollment in Medford is down and they have some open slots. So there will be places for the kids to go in the short term until we can get this up and running. We do have a couple of kids at Minuteman and a few at Northeast Regional, but it's kind of far to get to. Medford's a lot easier to get to than those. So in the short term, we're in the process working with the superintendent, Medford, and the vocational director, getting something set for next year for Medford.
But what can we do with these kids that have this addiction to get them off the street and to get them into the working environment?
Well, I think the addiction has to be solved first before we can get them into the working environment.
Right,
Unless
no,
you
I understand
solve the
that. But to let the kids understand that, you know, you won't have a job. In other words, I always put the fear in my children when they were growing up. If you do drugs, you're not gonna have a job. You're not gonna be with the good people, and the bad people after a while don't want you. And I just kept throwing that in there, and I kept scamming them. I mean, you don't wanna put the fear in children, but they also have to understand that once they get hooked on this stuff, there's no life for them, you know? So is there something that
I
makes
think
them
it's
understand?
creating mentors for them. They need mentors, somebody, like Mrs. McCormick was saying, if you're a member of the band, you're more able to go to talk to one of the people that are a band advisor or a band coordinator, or if you're in drama, it's creating relationships with the kids, whether it's an English teacher at the high school, or a health teacher, or a phys ed. We actually have one of our own staff members in the Everett Public Schools that was an addict years ago and is recovered and is doing wonderful. He's spoken to the kids about it and everything he went through. So I think it's creating the relationships with the kids, whether it's Mr. Norman, Dr. Easy, Mr. Barrett, anybody that works at the high school. We have a number of former Everett students who work up the high school that, that create wonderful relationships with the kids, and I think that's the biggest thing we have to do is create the relationships with the kids where they trust us, that we are there to help them no matter what happens to them in life. I don't care if they're 25, like Ms. McCollum, 25 or 30, they come back and they need help, well, we'll try to help them. That's what we're
Oh,
here
well,
for.
absolutely, that's what we're here for.
Right, that's what
We're here for, no matter how old they are. But what are we doing, what I'm saying is to prevent them from starting.
It's the education. It's the education. You have to educate them that, it's not good for them, it's not gonna help them in the long run. So it's the education.
Right,
That
no.
you start when they're in the 3rd grade, in the 4th grade, in the 5th grade, bring it into middle school and bring it into high school. It's the education that how bad it is for you, that you have to keep on them, and I don't know if there's
But
a right
are the
word.
parents, because we have so many different languages spoken, and are the parents also being educated as far as not leaving medication around? Is it done in different languages?
Anything that goes out in the Everett Public Schools, that goes home in any way, shape, or form, goes home in 5 languages. It goes home in English, Spanish, Haitian Creole, Brazilian Portuguese, and Spanish. So anything that goes home in 5 languages. So we do our best to communicate with the parents. Even our reverse 911 system can translate into various languages, so if we send a message out, it's translated. All our handbooks that go home at the beginning of the school year are all translated. So we do, and we have 20 translators that work for the Everett Public Schools. I believe it's 10 Spanish, then it's broken down, a few Brazilian Portuguese, Haitian Creole, and 1 Arabic speak. We actually have an Arabic speaking, because we have about 200 Arabic families in the school system. So we use those translators to communicate to the parents when our teachers or our faculty or guidance members aren't able to.
But what I'm saying is, are we educating them before the fact? Like, in other words, keep your medication away from your children? Are we sending anything in?
We're doing that when they enroll. That's when you have to do
Oh,
that,
when
like
you
next
enroll,
week.
okay.
We are starting enrollment in Parent Information Center, which now is at City Hall in the basement, for the 3- and 4-year-olds in kindergartens for next school year. And that is done through Parent Information. The reason we moved here is to be close to the Joint Committee, so that if some of these parents don't have health insurance, the Joint Committee is right next door now. We can enroll them in some of the health insurance plans that are offered. So it starts as soon as while they're enrolling. That's why we have multiple translators here right up at City Hall now, to be able to work with the parents right when they enroll, so they understand that that's
Okay.
important.
Okay, thank you
You're
again.
welcome.
Councilwoman Sani.
Thank you. I appreciate you presenting us. It's a great package, seeing that we're starting at a younger age. My question is, when we see a student or a behavior change, or we think they're using drugs, are we allowed to do something about it, help them then, or their family members? And I know sometimes parents are in denial, and can we move forward to get them help without the parents' permission?
We always inform parents if of anything that's going on with their child. But the CHA has a clinic in our school, so they can get help in the school. And we also have a number of adjustment counselors on board to help students. So anyone who it's even questionable that they have a problem on any matter, mental health or drugs or alcohol or family matter, they are seen immediately and get support.
Now, when you have a student that's, say, on drugs and they have to go into treatment, are they still being, a teacher going to the hospital or helping them to keep with their?
They're given tutoring
Yeah.
at the hospital, and tutoring company bills us. And if they're home, they get home tutored. One of the things I forgot to mention is every Monday we meet as a team, all the guidance staff, the administrators, special education, and the ELL advisor, and we meet to discuss any situation that's happened over the week prior, so that we can address it immediately, so we know what the students are doing over the weekend and the past week.
Yeah, that's good that we have something in place to help them.
And we do have 2 full-time school resource officers. They're located out of the high school, but they do the whole district. So that if something does happen on the outside, usually they will go to either Mr. Norman, the principal, or either one of the vice principals, or even to the elementaries, and let them know if something happened at somebody's house. Keep an eye on this kid.
No, that's good to know. I know when I was younger, I lost my parents very young, and like you said, the teachers were great guidance and, you know, put me in a great path, you know, for my future. And, you know, it's great to see it now even more at a younger age, you know, that they get this education, you know, and hopefully they don't fall down the wrong path. You know, I know sometimes you have parents that are using drugs and the kids fighting not to, and it's really hard because they're depressed. So it's great to see this.
And we talk about that. We talk about the increased likelihood that students would have in our health classes, and we have them examine factors that might make them at risk, and again give them the tools and let them practice the skills that will help them. And we talk about places where they can go if they or somebody in the future. I don't just talk about now when you're 14 years old. As an adult, if you're struggling, we talk about substance abuse prevention programs and AA and Al-Anon and, you know, all of those wonderful community resources, because it is a community effort.
And I'm glad you said that you tell the students that they won't get in trouble if they have drugs on them or anything, because it ruins their career. Once they get charged with drugs or, you know, drugs possession, that ruins their career for the future and at a very young age. So I'm glad that you're telling them that, and hopefully they'll, you know, that the police work with you and that they don't charge these kids.
We don't want anyone to die because their friends were afraid to call 911.
Right.
You know, so that's something we impart on them, you know, very
We also
carefully.
meet with the Assistant District Attorney's Office and the police every other Friday, with Probation Department and Department of Children and Families every other Friday at the high school to go over the kids that are at risk. So we're all on the same page with the group that needs to be kept an eye on. Sometimes they need help. Sometimes, you know, they need a judge to be tough on them. Sometimes they don't need a judge to be tough on them, but they ask our opinion on what we think of these kids. So when they go back to the judge or go back to the clerk magistrate, we're able to deal with the kid in a proper manner.
Right. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions, councilors? Seeing none, I have one from the chair, or maybe 2. So the early education portion of it, what grade level does that start at?
For health education?
Yes.
So we start in kindergarten.
Okay.
In kindergarten, we start implementing the Health Smart curriculum, which has a lot, as Julianne was kind of mentioning, about positive relationships and positive self-image, as well as healthy choices. At a younger age, I mean, we're focusing on healthy choices a lot of times about like nutrition and physical activity, but those are decisions about taking care of someone's body. By the time they're in 3rd grade, we start mentioning tobacco. 4th grade as well, we really start focusing on peer pressure and kind of risk reduction. And then by the time they're in 5th grade, we start talking more about alcohol. And then from the middle school age, we're really covering all other drugs as well.
Getting into it at that point, right?
Yeah.
The reason why I ask is because there was some programs that were out there that were starting at grade level 3. Some of the testimony that we've had in the chambers was starting with parents, and you know, there's children that are at risk. Reason being is they're seeing it daily with their mothers or fathers, and that's a problem that we're running into now, seeing that. But it's eventually going to tip over to you guys. That's why we're trying to get as early education as possible for them. So I think that's great that we're starting, you know, a little younger. We had testimony here that was utilized in D.C. For a piece of legislation from Senator Markey's office. It was doctors that came up and testified before us that they're delivering 8 out of 10 of their children are ending up in the NIC unit. So they're already delivered into an addictive style right now. So, you know, that's what you're going to end up with in the schools. So we should be proactive and ready, I would think, and we're on the right track, I would say. No.
And just so all the counselors know, every school now has Narcan in it. There's individuals that are trained how to use it, that have been trained by the fire department. We also have AED machines in all the schools. And about a year ago, a new law came into effect that every single coach has to be CPR certified. So now with that, we have probably over 150 people in our school system that are also CPR certified. So if things happen, the number of individuals that can jump in immediately.
That's great. So we're seeing improvement here within the city, I would think. We went from number 1 in the state with opioid death to number 9. So we must be doing a little bit of something right here. So I want to thank you for appearing tonight. I want to thank you for bringing this presentation before us. I'm always on the phone with you, Charlie, so.
Call us anytime. We're there to help.
I hear you.
Anytime.
All right, thank you very much for appearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
No, we have other people that are in. We have, I'd like to bring up Marlon Overcoming Addiction with the recovery coaches at that point. Could we have Marlon Overcoming Addiction up? Please state your names and titles for the record, please.
I am Paul Hammersley. I'm the president of Malden Overcoming Addiction.
Donna Ayala, Malden Overcoming Addiction.
Thank you for appearing tonight. I'm going to read a statement from our CFO. He's the Chief Financial Officer, Eric Demas. He's not able to attend tonight due to previous commitment, but he did put out a statement here. As requested, I have offered the following. On December 12, 2016, the City Council approved $6,000 to the Health Department Opioid Recovery Training Account, and the numbers are 0151025321 for the purpose of training volunteers to be recovery coaches, opioid recovery coaches. As of the date of this memo, which is today, the Health Department has not expended any of these funds, and the full $6,000 is available to be used to provide said training. Should you have any additional questions, we'll contact him. So we have $6,000 that's sitting in their coffers, waiting for this to be done for recovery coaches. Malden, you guys have paid for the first round of recovery coaches?
Yeah, the first round, we graduated them, what was the graduation date? 16. No, the 23rd, wasn't it?
23rd?
Was the when did you graduate? Was it the 23rd? Yeah, it was the 60th. It was 2 weeks ago. So we graduated 20 recovery coaches, and how it went was this: the Malden Police and the Malden Fire Department, we were allotted a grant, and it was roughly $4,500 and change for the academy, and that is if one person goes or 30 people, it's the same price. So that's what was paid. We had 20 people go through the academy. And what happens with this is our volunteers put together an informational meeting. After the informational meeting, there is an online application process, there is a Corey check, and then there is 2 interview processes, 2 different nights where the folks come down and get interviewed, and we talk to them and let them know what our expectations were of them. And then they attended the academy, which it's 30 hours. They donate their time. They come in for, it was Friday, Saturday, 9 hours at a time. And they graduated, and Malden paid for the first round. As we talked the last time I was here, we have decided, we put something out there where maybe we could share recovery coaches. Maybe the 2 cities could just share coaches if issues pop up. And it was agreed that Everett would pay for the second round. They would like to go forward with the second round, and our volunteers would be more than happy to run that. So it's not quite $6,000. It's roughly $4,500. I heard there was some questions with trainers and potentially where they were from.
Yeah, the question that I had was, since it's a
CCAR, right?
Right, and it's based out of Connecticut.
Connecticut, that's right.
Was there an issue with that, or it's nationally known? I've talked to DPH several times.
Yeah, so I took the class last year in Worcester myself. That's where it all started, and I had New Hampshire trainers. So it sort of works like this. The book is the book. It's the same training regardless who teaches it, whether it's in Mass, Vermont, New Hampshire, Rhode Island. It doesn't matter who teaches the class. It's the same class that's being taught. So you walk away with a certificate, and that certificate can be used in any state. That's just how it is. So we did contact some mass trainers for our own purposes at the beginning, and they wanted almost double the money, and we didn't have it. And New Hampshire's price was roughly 87% cheaper than the mass people wanted to charge us. So we just didn't have the funding, and it's the same training. So we went with the New Hampshire trainers, and what we're going to do now is we're working closely with DPH, and we're going to offer training through Mass for a couple of additional classes that we're going to help pay for with DPH to move the recovery coaches to they need to get a little bit more training after this first.
They have a
go-
3-day course that's ethics and one-on-one.
It's ethics, it's ethics,
interviewing.
boundaries, and motivational interviewing. They have to get those. That's just a couple. There'll be more down the road, but those are the ones.
500 hours that they have to do.
And that'll be after. That's if you want to become licensed and certified. I can let Donna speak on that. But that's
Sure.
to be certified. That's correct.
So
But-
these coaches right now that were just trained
Mm-hmm.
over there, they could actually go out, do peer-to-peer,
They could.
and they could gain hours doing it? Is that
Yeah,
how-
they could. And they just have to have a supervisor sign off on that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's how it's done. I mean, that's what it was explained to me by the compliance and
That's right.
policy director of DPH. His name is Tom Mangan.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to him in depth, and I also spoke to a woman today, which was very informative for me. And she told me it's across the board. It's national. It's like a national accreditation.
That's right. And as it sits right now, myself and Donna, along with another member of Malden Overcoming Addiction, we have started the supervisor training.
Yes.
Because we need to have
There's only
supervisors.
2 in Massachusetts right now.
Yeah, we've started the training. So today we started with a webinar. There's a pre-training before the training, and then we're signing up this week for a 3-day training. That's Yeah, it's May 22nd, 23rd, and it's going to be a follow-up of June 16th. So we're going to attend the training, but we've got everything pretty much nailed down on what we need to do. But yeah, we're going to need some supervision.
Okay. So what we have to do is just figure out what we're doing with funding and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
through our health department, but we should have answers from them shortly on that. So what I'll do is I'll get back to you on that, but
Okay.
and see which way we're going to go. But I know it doesn't have to be mass trained.
No, it does not. We looked into it, and it's sort of like, you can take a class in California to get a bachelor's, or you can come to Boston. It's the same class you're taking. You're walking away with the same degree.
Sure.
But, we had to, for the bang for our buck, we just didn't have $8,000. We had $4,500, and they agreed to come down, and that included the books.
I talked to
Yeah.
the person that ran that class there in New Hampshire, and they offered to do 40 recovery coaches at a price less than $5,000.
Yeah,
So-
and we're,
they seemed very reasonable, and they knew knowledgeable about what they were doing. So-
that's right.
So I think that was a great thing. Some of our people that were there, I could see them now, Tim Spinney, Eileen Cadello in the back, they took the course, they thought it was great. Paul Garino, he took the course, and he's one of the people that work with us now on that, so I didn't hear anything bad about it, so.
No, it was a fantastic course, and just for people's knowledge, so we've just nailed down the dates for the second training. So the informational meeting is going to be May 9th that we're asking folks to come to. Okay, so May 9th, we're asking people to come to Malden High School cafeteria so we can explain to them what the academy is going to look like. Then it's going to be, what's the dates on the,
May 9th is the informational session, 5 to 6:30
Mhm.
at Malden High. And then the interview process is May 30th and 6/1. And the
Wednesday and Thursday, May 30th and 6/1 will be the interview process, also 5 to 6:30 p.m. in the Malden High School cafeteria.
And then the training will be Friday and Saturday, both days, the 16th and 17th of June, and then June 23rd and 24th, both Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday.
So if in fact the city does go forward with it for the payment of that, which they should, because you paid for the first round, we agreed to pay for the second round, and the money was already allocated for that purpose. So we could have over almost 60 recovery coaches.
As long as we
between
can get the
everyone.
people to sign up for this one, sure. Like right now, we have
And actually
25.
sit in the seats.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
25 right now, so we're gonna I can start, I just need to know when to push the button. We really need to start getting the word out if
Sure.
Everett decides to go through with it. Our volunteers are willing to work with you to run the program, because it's a lot of work.
Okay.
There's a lot of work to be done just to get
No,
everyone in the
I know.
seats.
We've talked.
Yeah,
you
so,
know,
again, if you guys choose to do it, just let us know as soon as you can, and we can push that forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Please feel free to call with any questions or email. I know this stuff inside out. I've been through the course. I've taken all the trainings. I do this for work. I talk to Julia every week.
I talked to her today. She's great.
She's wonderful, from BSAS, who is funded through DPH. It's collaborative, and she is so supportive of Malden Overcoming Addiction. I have been, since day one of this project that Malden Overcoming Addiction has talked about, we have been telling her exactly what we're doing. We haven't skipped anything. We've asked advice, suggestions. What do we do? How do we do it? How do we make it better? So Department of Public Health and BSAS has been on board with us every step of the way.
Sure.
Every step
And
of the way.
they were following these recovery coaches while they were going through, correct?
Right.
And that's
what
why
she
they
said.
need supervision.
Yeah.
You know, that's the key piece, and so we're gonna try to, we're trying to send 4 people right now. We have definitely 2 that are going, but yeah, we'd have to have supervisors to sign off on hours, and just to supervise the actual coaches as they're moving forward with what they're doing.
We're
Councilwoman, do you have
asking-
anything?
We're asking them to give us some volunteer time in the city.
Sure.
So in return, they're getting their supervision. 500 hours is a lot of hours to obtain on a volunteer basis. You know, so we're giving, it's a give and take, you know? We're
And
giving
again-
you the training,
Yeah.
you're volunteering, and we're signing off on some supervision hours.
And it is a pilot program. We have no idea how it's going to work, but with the way the overdose rate is and things are happening, we're trying to do something, and we're really hopeful that this could work out for both cities.
Sure.
You know, I mean, someone has to do something, so we feel confident that peer-to-peer recovery coaching is a great start.
Councilwoman, you have anything?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm all set.
Okay, me too.
So if you have anything else you want to add, or?
Yeah, you don't have to be in recovery to be a recovery coach.
Sure.
Just to
Absolutely.
make that clear,
Yeah.
it's a recovery coach. You might think, oh, I have to be in recovery, lived experience, peer-to-peer. You do not.
Do you have phone numbers, in case anybody asks us if they're interested? Could you give
You have
us
a phone number?
list of phone numbers?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of the coaches?
No.
No, who do they call if someone wants to become a coach or if someone?
Oh,
wants
yeah,
to
you
sign up?
contact Malden Overcoming Addiction. There's, on our Facebook page, we've got all the information there.
Okay.
So it's on our Facebook page as we speak right now, and I'm just waiting for the next go-ahead, if you will, from you guys, that I can start pushing it even harder.
Sure.
But that's where we get everybody's attention, and then people start sharing it. Yeah.
Thank you for appearing tonight.
All right, thank you.
Got to bring up Paul and Elaine Silva. Could we have,
Paul
could we have
and Elaine Silva?
Mr. Guarino and Ms. Silva from our health department? Is Sergio around? He's down. Yeah, because he was supposed to speak on a piece. Could you just state your names and titles, please?
Elaine Silver, Director of the Everett Health Department.
Paul Garino, Program Coordinator for the.
And I have one regret, Steve Supino is not going to be here tonight due to a prior commitment. He had put a statement in through our president, so.
Do you have any questions for us?
Just, do you have any information for us coming out of the health department?
I think nothing more than what Mr. Sapino sent you. He sent you some information. We have been meeting. Paul is with us full-time now in the health department. We've been meeting with their fire department and along with Tori Cyrus looking into and with the recovery coaches what they will need now that they have finished these courses in regards to their next step and what will be the thing that we will have to do to help them lead on for more certification.
Sure.
I think
So-
Paul has.
So it would be, we're looking to start these recovery coaches up that just went through the training, which you went through, right, Paul?
Yes, I did.
Okay. How was the training?
It was wonderful. It was a great experience.
Great. Yeah, I went through DPH, 2 different people at DPH to actually make sure that we're on target with what we're doing between Everett and Malden. They're offering another class. We just have to put down the funding for it because they paid for the first one. So that funding would come out of, I believe, Health Department. That's what Eric Demas had stated to me. So we need to talk to Eric Demas, I believe.
I think so.
Because he basically just, he has an account number for it, and he basically said that it's sitting aside now, just waiting to go. And we have dates already if we need to do that for June. So would you be talking to him within the week, or?
Probably the middle of next week, I believe. I think Steve has a meeting set up at the beginning of the week, and then he'll let me know from there.
All right, because I'm gonna try to work with him, because the sooner we know, the better. Reason being is because they're in limbo now, waiting on us to just, you know, give them a file number to accept payment or whatever they have to get from them. So I know they have the dates already set.
Yes, they do.
We should be looking for recovery coaches as well to be trained. And it's a standard across the board, United States, like, you know, federal type thing. So it goes from state to state.
Yes, it does.
And speaking with the DPH, they said that they only have 2 supervisors that are in Massachusetts right now. They're looking for more. So how we get more is by training these people. Once we train these people, they can go after the 500 hours and go after the additional, you know, courses that they have to get to obtain the certification for that. Once they're supervisors, then they can start, you know, training these people. So it's just a trickle-up effect, we'll call it, but.
It's baby steps.
Yeah, we're baby stepping, but we're doing good with the baby steps right
We're
now.
moving very fast with the baby steps. We're doing well.
We're doing well. So, I know I had something to read from Steve. Do you have that?
I may have the email.
Okay. If you do, if not, that's fine. I know that he had another commitment he had to be at.
The last email he sent today was that he has the information from DPH.
Okay.
And he knows what we have to do, and he would share the contact information with Malden, and he will reach out to them. The information and input has been awesome. We will work to make our program the best. It may seem to be methodical, but we will make less mistakes with greater results.
Sure. That's great. Are right. Anything else?
No?
All right. Have a great night. Thank you for
Thank you.
appearing. Were we going to have Sergio or no? All right. Oh, he has another one at 7? Okay. We were looking for Sergio Canelio to come up in regards to the sober houses and testify on that behalf, but we'll hold it over to next meeting to have that done. Anyone else have anything out in the audience? Seeing none?
Motion to adjourn.
Yep, motion to adjourn. Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.